contractor that had a very small shop out of West Jordan here in Salt Lake County. It was amazing, at least for the first little while. I worked for them for about 2 years. Towards the end of my second year of employment with that company, I was considering a new job. I was considering moving to a different company. And as soon as the owner found out, the owner basically told the foreman I was working with at the time that ain't happening, and gave me a call right then and there. I'm halfway home. I'm working in probably not the best area in town. And basically he tells me, well, you can start tomorrow because you no longer work here. So I turn around, hightail it back to the job site I was at, and grab all my tools, and I head out. Fortunately for me, I was able to start 2.5, 3 weeks later at the new contractor, and I was with them for a very long while, from 2020 all the way to 2024. And I loved working for them. So for the last 3.5 years being with that company in a non-union environment, they took really good care of us. It was very much a family first type place. They really wanted you as the employee to see your value and your impact you were having on the job site. Didn't matter how fast you were, it didn't matter how slow you were. Well, maybe it mattered a little bit, but they cared about the quality and the quality of the workforce. And the unfortunate part that led up to my departure was a whole bunch of self-doubt and feelings of anxiety. And so I thought, okay, well, I've been in the private industry this whole time. Maybe I need to move to a union. And I found an electrical union and I moved over. The electrical union, I was hoping, would change my mentality of what I had been experiencing. According to everyone I've worked with, I'm very talented. According to everyone I've worked with, I did my job very well. I didn't see it. I felt like I was slow. I felt like I didn't know as much as the next guy. And I felt like I had the confidence of a rock. So, hopping into the union, becoming a number, just kind of working for the team, calling it a day, that seemed like my kind of thing for the minute. And for the first couple months, it was great. After that, that's when things got really hard. I was working on a crew pulling wire. A gentleman comes up to me and says, "Hey Nate, when you talk about your spouse, you use very gender neutral words. I have an important question to ask you." And I said, "How important is it?" He's like, "I think it's pretty important." I said, "Okay, is it relevant?" And he said, "Oh, I think so." And I said, "Okay, well, only ask questions which you want the answer to." And he responds with, "Nate, are you gay?" I then respond with, "Yes." And he goes, "Well, do you mind if I tell others?" And I said, "I don't think that's your place, but if you feel like it'll protect me, go for it. But please keep it to a minimum. If you do, I'm not going to get mad at you for saying anything." Well, hindsight is 2020, and I should not have even admitted that I was gay to him, because he then proceeds to tell everybody. And there was a gentleman there who was like, "Yeah, Nate's a pretty good guy. I like working with him." And as soon as this individual mentioned, "Oh yeah, well, I don't think you know this, but Nate's gay." Well, how could he be? He's here on a job site, and he's not feminine, and he doesn't talk like gay people do, so therefore that's not correct. Well, and so this guy, we're gonna call him, well, there's so many people I've worked with, I don't want to dox anybody accidentally. We'll call him John. Okay, so John then comes up to me and says, "Hey, I heard from this other gentleman that you're gay. Is that true?" And I said, "Well, that's interesting." And he goes, "Well, are you?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Oh, don't worry. I am really cool with the gays. I once went to a sex party." And then he then goes into graphic detail about that sex party. I have never felt so disgusting or disgusted in my entire life. What you do behind those closed doors at home, or even on your private property, is between you, your husband, your wife, whoever. Okay? But I have a huge problem when you cross that line and you start giving graphic detail towards sexual experiences. Now, a lot of guys in the trades, and I experience this more so on a union job site than on a non-union job site, where people would talk about their sex life in graphic detail. And so that's why I kept my orientation to myself. This proceeds to spread, but I continued to get these sexual hazing jokes. Do you have anything other to talk about than sex? Okay, this is where it gets really, really hard for me. I had put up with all of this harassment for months, way longer than I should have. I started working with this individual, John, back in January of 24. I worked with him all the way up until May. I hit my breaking point. A comment was made where, oh, smells like burnt rubber and Vaseline. We were working in a really gross area. And I was like, okay, I can't take this anymore. And I ended up asking to get moved outside of the building we were working on. And the foreman initially said no. So I pulled the medical card. Oh, I can't breathe inside the building. It's toxic. I need to be outside. I'm asthmatic. And I used every excuse I could. I finally get moved outside. And then after I was moved outside, okay, this guy's like a leech. Won't leave me alone. Follows me from job site to job site. And I'd been on 3 different job sites at that point. I get moved back to my first job site after May. And as soon as I'm back, I get moved to a different crew. And I'm like, okay, I don't have to deal with him ever again. But that nagging feeling of discomfort is still there. Something tragic happened to one of my friends growing up. I'm not going to share what happened. Let's just say a fatality was involved. And something in regards to someone's coming out. It was not good. It was very dark. And I said, enough is enough. It doesn't matter if you're sexually abused. And I've been dealing with abuse after abuse, not from my family, but from those I was working around and places I was going to school. And enough had to be enough. And I put my foot down and I said something. As soon as I said something, a formal investigation was conducted. I did not give HR the name of the individual at first, because all I was after was what they call a toolbox talk, a training on sexual harassment, where I was told that sexual harassment happens to women. It's not really that common for men to experience that. And then on the flip side of that, they also proceeded to tell me that I'm an enigma and that gay people don't exist in the trades. It's why I've been so passionate about this little project of mine for a while, because that comment alone was like, okay, you've lost all of my trust and all of my faith in doing the right thing. So let's see what you do. So I give them the name. They can't tell me what the disciplinary action was. I do know that the individual was still working on site. We did not talk to each other. We did bump into each other, however, every single day when we went to go home. That is not a good place to be. They told me because there was not enough evidence, they could not terminate the individual or move that individual to a different job site. So I took matters into my own hands and said, okay, whatever, I'm going to talk to the union hall. The union hall said because it was a corporate matter, they had to deal with it. And they did everything they could. The union had my back. I went to different Pride at Work events. Pride at Work is a wonderful, wonderful organization, and I don't think I would have made it that much further with that company or in the union as a whole without that organization. So shout out to all the people who run Pride at Work here in Utah. Love you guys. Thank you. However, I do want to share this. All of these things happened, and I still ended up getting laid off. Whether it was because of attendance, or orientation, or whatever else, I don't care. But the one thing I do know is that I do not like being gaslit. I do not like being told that I do not exist. I do not like being told that my problems are invalid because I'm not a woman. I don't like being told that I don't meet the certain stereotype of a gay individual, so therefore I must not be gay. I am so sick and tired of being told that I am something that I'm not. This is my adventure. This is my journey. It has a beginning date and an end date. Starts the moment you're born and ends when you take your last breath. And I'm not wasting another minute of it. I'm going to do things that I enjoy, that bring me pride. I am who I am. And I'm not going to sugarcoat that for anybody. I think it is very disappointing how people seem to think that regardless of your background, regardless of your circumstances, that they can do whatever they want to you because somehow that justifies the means, okay? When you, for example, lay somebody off because it's a reduction of force, right? Which is what I received. And there's still a ton of work to be done, okay? It still feels a little personal to me. Everything I experienced, everything I did for that company just to be kind of cast to the side and ignored. All of those things are apprehensible. If you want to earn trust with the people who work for you, treat them with dignity, treat them with respect, and they will be with you for a lifetime. But you do not get to tell people, hey, we appreciate everything you've done, give us all of the stuff that you've done. At that point, I no longer work for you, and I'm not taking orders from you. So I'm going to take my stuff. You can have whatever you want, okay? But you're not going to dictate me any further. When companies decide to lay off, it's always hard, especially if there's an economic downturn, right? We're on the precipice of a major one. And I hope, for my sake, everyone is well. It doesn't impact you. And I hope it does not impact the people I care about. But this is my story. Maybe I'll tell it in another video. Maybe I'll tell more different details of my coming out experience, or maybe my experiences working at the dealerships. But I've experienced a lot of different things in my lifetime. And the one thing I do know is that I want to talk to people. And that's exactly what I'm going to do now. Talk to you. And I hope you guys gain something from this. I feel really good about this. This is the best closure I've ever had with this issue. I don't feel like I've ever been able to be in a situation where I can move on. And because of that, I am grateful. I'm grateful to YouTube and the platform this gives me to talk to you people. Until next time, this has been my corner, and I'll catch you on the next one.